in the duct and see if this is actually sampling, right? There's no way to really do that I know of. So what they do is they take it apart, they test the functionality of the smoke detector, then they test to see if the air handler unit shuts down or all the other things actually work. Okay? I don't know of any other way of testing this, to be honest with you, but that's the way they actually test them. That doesn't mean that it's actually going to work. Now, before you install one of these, okay, these tubes are in, this is open, and they put a device inside here. As this comes off, they can put when they do the test and balance, it's called the test and balance on an air handler unit. You actually have to make sure that you have a pressure differential between the tube input and tube out. As long as you have a pressure differential, as air's flowing through, they're assuming you're going to get air flowing through there. You don't need much of a differential, maybe 1 psi, right? But you're going to get some kind of sampling in there. That's in the initial phases of an air handler unit installation and a duct detector installation. But once it's all put in, a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year later, how many times does that get done? Test and balance? No idea. Because the way they test these, there's no way to get inside the duct, and you can't take this, which is canned smoke. This is what they use, right? You know, okay, so you'd have to get in the duct, right, with the air flowing, major volume, right? You know, how would you actually, would it? It's not going to work, trust me. So testing these, it's a beggar. You know, if this was just sitting up on the wall, and you just sit there and went, that thing's going into alarm, right? But inside there, with massive air flowing and that volume, but these should be inspected every single year when you do your annual fire alarm test. And typically with every duct detector housing, there should be an access panel near the duct so you can open it up, pop your head in, put a flashlight in, check the tubes, make sure they're not dirty. They need cleaning, they need to be cleaned. All right? If you don't do it, you're basically rendering that device useless. Okay? Any questions on the duct detector, which we're going to test here in just a little bit? Any questions? Okay, heat detectors. Now, I kind of set up my own little fire alarm system here. Okay, so this duct detector just happens to be, where'd the box go? This is a combination, here I'll just set it up here, right? So I'm going to put this over here, that's my little meter. So, heat detector, right? This is a combination rate of rise, fixed temperature, okay? So you have, and this is the box that it came in, you can actually pass this around. I can't read it, but it tells you the specs and temperature ratings on it, right? I'll just tell you what they are anyway. So if you want to sense heat, you don't have a smoke detector, okay? If the temperature reaches 135 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, this piece on the heat detector has a solder joint on it. It will pop off, and it's actually kept in with a spring actuator. So when this pops off, it activates the innards. I'm not going to go into the actual innards and how the whole pressure thing works. But inside here, it will short these contacts. When those contacts short, fire alarm system, just like this, is monitoring it, senses that short, sends it into alarm. That's the fixed temperature at 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? But there's also a rate of rise. So let's say, for instance, I don't know, your ambient temperature right here is 70 degrees. That temperature rises a certain level in a certain amount of time. Let's say it goes from 70 degrees to 100 degrees in like 5 or 6 seconds. The way this stuff works and the way it senses in the pressure inside, the way there's a diaphragm in there in the metal. You read about it in one of the Systems 1 books, I think, on how this heat detector works, and I can cover it more in probably an announcement. But it senses that rate of rise. If that heat goes up too quickly, temperature goes up too quickly, it does the same thing. It will short out those contacts. The difference is rate of rise portion can be reset. Once that temperature goes back to normal, this is a reusable heat detector. Just goes back to normal. These open, system resets. But if it ever reaches 135 degrees and this pops, it's a one-shot deal once it reaches that temperature. This is now useless and it has to be replaced with a brand new heat detector. Okay? So what I was going to do is actually show you.